Welcome to the Razors Inc. podcast with your host, Jonathan Farini. When Bonnie and Clyde premiered in 1967, it didn't just shock audiences, it changed American cinema forever. Ushering in the period known as New Hollywood, Bonnie and Clyde did more than push boundaries and portray morally complicated characters. It became a sort of Rorschach test. Were these villains or rebellious outsiders fighting a broken system? So pour yourself a drink, pull up a chair, and hear Jonathan's take on movies, television, and today, when real-life killers become heroes. Here's your host, Jonathan Farini.
Why does the movie Bonnie and Clyde still work today? At least for me, anyways. I've been watching it since it was released in 1967 at the age of 9 years old. And I never miss an opportunity to grow old with it and learn from it. But I ask to those who agree with me, why does it still work today? Because on the surface it shouldn't. It's a movie about criminals, bank robbers, killers. Two people leaving bodies behind them across Depression-era America. And yet, we just don't watch them. We root for them. At least I do. So the question is why? Well, let's begin what the film is and where it came from. It was released in 1967 by Warner Brothers, directed by Arthur Penn, and shaped creatively by its star producer, Warren Beatty.
Good afternoon. This is the Barrel Gang. Now, if everybody will just take it easy, nobody will get hurt. Is that your money or the bank's?
Mine.
All right. You keep it then. Next time I'll aim a little lower.
It was a modest production. They say around $2.5 million, according to my research. Never trust numbers. But it didn't behave like a modest production. It divided critics. It shocked audiences. But it surged into, believe it or not, 10 Academy Award nominations, winning 2, including Best Supporting Actress for Estelle Parsons.
Dear Lord in heaven, please help.
Right.
And Buck will never do anything wrong again in his life.
But it changed movies. Everything I've said doesn't explain why the movie still works, but the answer starts with something more immediate, something undeniable. What I call beauty, youth, and the power of the camera. Let's not pretend. Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty are stunning in this film. Young, radiant, magnetic. They're both beautiful. And the camera doesn't just capture them, it celebrates them. So we respond before we even think. Their beauty disarms us, in my opinion. It softens the violence. You see what I'm saying? It reframes the danger. It turns crime into something seductive, something cinematic. Bonnie leans against a car. She looks like she belongs on the cover of a magazine, not a wanted poster. Clyde smiles, and you don't see a criminal. You see a possibility between the two of them. And I guess if you're a female film goer, you see possibility between yourself and him. But here's the question the film quietly asks me anyways. If they weren't beautiful, would we still root for them? Just saying. Because their attractiveness isn't a detail. It's a mechanism. It draws us in. It earns our sympathy very early. And by the time we realize what they've done, we're already on their side. I want you to ask the following question. If the casting of Bonnie and Clyde included an actor and actress that weren't attractive, or for lack of a better word, beautiful, charismatic, would the movie have still worked? In my opinion, It would not. Let's talk about casting and chemistry and this outlaw myth. I talk a lot about casting in my podcasts about film. It's really the alchemy of film. The chemistry between the actors is real, but it's also very fragile. Bonnie wants more. Clyde's already been broken by the world, which brings us to Clyde's impotence, his inability in the film to make love to this gorgeous Bonnie.
At least I ain't a liar. I told you I wasn't no lover boy.
According to my research, Clyde Barrow probably wasn't impotent. There's no definitive proof. So it's largely a dramatic invention, possibly inspired by trauma during his prison years, but it's not historically confirmed. But I've learned over the years it's a tremendous dramatic tool, and it's essential. Because Clyde now becomes a contradiction, doesn't he? He's a man who looks powerful but isn't. So what does he do? He creates power elsewhere through crime, through notoriety, through rebellion. And Bonnie builds around that absence of sensuality. Their intimacy becomes emotional, psychological, defined as much by what's missing as what's there. And it's that tension that deepens everything. It's really a true love story versus a passion story, in my opinion. Let's talk about the supporting cast. Michael J. Pollard played C.W. Moss.
What's your name, boy?
C.W. Moss.
Well, I'm Miss Bonnie Parker, and this here's Mr. Clyde Barrow. We rob banks.
Hey, now, there ain't nothing wrong with that, is there?
No. No.
Clyde, he ain't the one. Let's go.
Wait, hey, boy. You think you got the guts for our line of work?
What are you talking about? I spent a year in reformatory.
A man with a record.
I know you got the nerve to shortchange old ladies who coming in for gas. What I'm asking you is, have you got what it takes to pull bank jobs with us?
Mr. C.W. Moss.
Sure do. I ain't afraid. That's what you think.
He was instantly likable. I remember seeing him for the first time at 9 years of age and saying, who is this guy? He's not a leading man. He's not cool. He's just a kid. He's awkward. He's eager. He wants to belong. But he brings an innocence into the world that's losing it. Then there's Gene Hackman as Buck Barrow.
Law enforcement officers throughout the Southwest are frankly amazed at the way in which the will-o'-the-wisp bandit Clyde Barrow and his yellow-haired companion Bonnie Parker continue to elude their would-be captors since engaging in a police battle on the streets of Joplin, Missouri.
He's warm, he's chaotic, human, but he makes the gang feel like family until it isn't. And then Estelle Parsons is Blanche.
Oh, leave him alone. He's dying. Can't you see? Dying. You let me go. Daddy, you killed him. He's dying. God, can't you see? He's dying. He's dying. Daddy, Daddy, don't die, Daddy. Don't die. Oh, Daddy. Daddy.
At first, almost comic, then shattered. That scene after she's partially blinded, Buck's dying in the dirt, thrashing around, confused, fading. It's not stylized, it's real. It's messy, loud, and terrifying. And Parsons carries that reality into the film like Buck's wounds. Let's talk about authority, because authority runs through this film like a main circuit cable. Opposing Bonnie and Clyde is authority. It's law enforcement embodied by Denver Pyle playing the Texas Ranger.
I imagine old Buck wasn't a bad sort, was he?
No, he wasn't.
I reckon Clyde just sort of led him astray, didn't he? That's a shame, Blanche. Yes, ma'am. That's a shame. They done led your Buck astray. Clyde, his own brother, Bonnie, and that little feller. The one that was with you when you took that Texas Ranger in Missouri. He was with you all along, wasn't he?
C.W.
That's right. C.W. I don't recollect his last name.
Moss. C.W. Moss.
He's easy to dislike because he's not justice, he's pride. Humiliated, mocked, then vengeful. His cruelty, especially toward Blanche, feels personal, not principled. And that shifts our alignment, at least mine anyways. We don't embrace crime, we reject what's chasing it. And then there's the Depression, another main circuit cable, a protagonist, so to speak. The movie's set during the Great Depression, so the film taps into something deeper. And this is really important. The banks are failing, families are losing everything. And suddenly, robbing a bank doesn't feel entirely wrong. There's that moment, the farmer shooting at the bank sign after foreclosure.
Used to be my place, but it's not anymore. Bank took it. Yes, sir, they moved us off. Now it belongs to them.
Well, that's a pitiful shame.
You're damn right, ma'am. Me and him put in the years here. Yes, sir. You all go right ahead. We just come by for a last look. Y'all mind? Hey, Davis, come on over here.
That's not just symbolism, that's identification. It's not Robin Hood in action, but Robin Hood in spirit. And you know that spirit resonates today? The movie is replete with violence. That final ambush strips everything away. The beauty, the myth, the illusion, everything I've spoken about previously. So what's left is consequence and the realization we were rooting for them. I was. 1967 was an important year. I talk in my podcasts about the two 1960s, 1960 through 66. Oh, Frankie Avalon, Annette Funicello, those goofy surfing movies. The Beatles hit the scene. But in 67, the 60s turned caustic, chaotic. And everything shifted. Authority is questioned, systems are challenged. The Vietnam War, assassinations would follow in 68. And Bonnie and Clyde captures the rupture perfectly, doesn't it? It doesn't resist the moment, but it really defines it. It was a movie for its time. You know, there's some wonderful bookends to this movie that I want to point out. One is The Grapes of Wrath, directed by John Ford, starring Henry Fonda, Jane Darwell, and John Carradine.
Goodbye, good luck. Hello! Ain't you going with us?
I'd like to. There's something going on out there in the West, and I'd like to try and learn what it is. If you feel you got the room.
This is the suffering side of the Depression, the victims, the displaced, the people Bonnie and Clyde passed by on the highway. Bonnie and Clyde shows what happens when those people stop enduring and start reacting. Then in the same year, Cool Hand Luke, cutting the heads off of parking meters. What a brilliant metaphor for rebellion. Starred Paul Newman, George Kennedy, and Strother Martin. Another rebel, another man who refused to bend to authority. And later, think about Badlands for a minute with Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek.
I grew to love the forest. The cooing of the doves and the hum of dragonflies in the air made it always seem lonesome and like everybody's dead and gone. When the leaves rustled overhead, it was like the spirits were whispering about all the little things that bothered them.
Young lovers engaged in violence. But myth-making. I contend the DNA of Bonnie and Clyde lives inside that movie. It's, to me, a revelation, an eerie revelation. So why does the movie still work, Jonathan? I believe because it understands us, our attraction to beauty, our sympathy for outsiders, our suspicion of authority, and our willingness to bend morality when the story is compelling enough or when the characters are attractive enough. My final thought is Bonnie and Clyde still works today because it reveals something uncomfortable, that beauty shapes judgment, that charisma overrides logic, and that sometimes we don't root for what's right. We root for what's irresistible. And Bonnie and Clyde, in my opinion, they are irresistible. Until I see you next time, please leave behind a soft footprint. And class is dismissed.
And regarding Bonnie and Clyde's 2 Oscar wins of its 10 nominations, the cinematography Oscar was certainly well-deserved. And if you look at the other nominees in 1968, there was some stiff competition, which makes Estelle Parsons' Oscar win even more puzzling, because in this producer's humble opinion, that Oscar was stolen from Catherine Ross in The Graduate. You've been listening to the Razors Inc. podcast with Jonathan Farini. Be sure to check out Jonathan's collection of fiction at jonathanfarini.com. Also, look for Jonathan's latest short story, The Blue Binder, in which a young man with special needs is given a gift that's far more valuable than at first blush. The Blue Binder has just been published in the May edition of Infinity Wanderers. Look for it on Amazon in paperback or Kindle. You can also drop an email anytime to razorsincpodcast@gmail.com.